Hey David, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Karen?
Good, thanks.
Thank you so much for talking to me. And boy, that's quite a is that a
Oh,
deer behind you?
oh yeah. So that I'm at my brother's house, and that's his trophy on the wall.
Nice. Is he a big hunter?
Yes, he is.
So you're at Wheaton College, right?
Right. Yes.
And so like where are you? I know you're at your brother's house. Like where are you normally located?
So I'm normally in West Chicago is where I live, but I work in Wheaton College. I just happen to be in Michigan today. So
Okay. So
yeah.
so Wheaton and Moody are both in Chicago area, and is it a Moody that has another one in the Seattle area?
They might. I'm not sure. So
Okay.
Wheaton doesn't have any satellite campuses, so it might be, Moody's in downtown Chicago and Wheaton's in the suburbs. So
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, thank you for your time. Yeah, just a little background and going over what I'll ask you. So like I mentioned, I'm in California. I'm in Bakersfield, yeah, 11 a.m. here.
Uh-huh.
I'm a master's student at University of Nebraska at Lincoln, and so
Mhm.
this is for my like senior year final project, making a documentary. I'm a local TV news reporter for the CBS and Fox station in Bakersfield, but I'm a born again believer. I'm a Christian, and when I found out I could do a final project, I thought, there's something I've always wanted to do, like a passion project, ever since I met Tom, this guy that carries this big cross around town. But
Uh-huh.
I just would never be able to tell that, on a secular news station the way I would want to. And I thought,
Right.
oh, this is the perfect opportunity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, yeah, telling Tom's story and his background, he was a bank robber, was
Mm-hmm.
in prison, and went to a Bill Glass crusade at the prison in Tehachapi, California. And he was just going to that crusade because, they had athletes and a girls' choir.
Sure.
But
Yep.
in going that he realized he was lost, and
Mm-hmm.
that he was a sinner, and that he did need what Jesus offers and did on the cross, and gave his life over to Christ. And then while in prison still, he started Convicts for Christ, which led, I think he said it was 8 inmates and correctional officers to the Lord. And
Okay.
since then, he's just been involved with Teen Challenge and Teen Scene, both in San Francisco and Bakersfield. So,
Okay.
like working with youth, trying to keep them away from drugs, because he was on LCD.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2006, he felt led to make this cross. He actually made it, and
Uh-huh.
first took it around town in Bakersfield to,
Okay.
the local courthouse, police department, hospital,
Mm-hmm.
those city hall, those kind of places. And
Mm-hmm.
then God told him, I want you to go to Southern California, go to Northern California, West Coast. And then before you know it, within 5 years, he did all state capitals, all 50, all 48 state capitals with this cross. And then he went to Juneau, Alaska, and Honolulu, Hawaii, and constructed crosses at the Home Depots there. um, and
Okay.
and and so that's Tom's background, and that's a little background about my project. Just
Uh-huh.
a look at, um yeah, kind of his journey and walking the cross. And I was doing research about Bill Glass Ministries, and
Mm-hmm.
looking stuff up online, and I saw your name in the article, and it looked like, you were at least familiar with the ministry and maybe Bill Glass, and you'd be a good person to talk to about that ministry and Bill Glass.
Uh-huh. Did you happen to contact Aaron Griffith?
No, who
Because I
is
thought I
Aaron
I
Griffin?
thought maybe because so Aaron is he was the author of the article in Christianity Today, and
Uh-huh.
he wrote the book. God's Law and Order. I think that's the name of it. And that's where he's the one, he's done research on Bill Glass Ministries, and he and I met Bill Glass together. So
Oh,
we went to so as part of his book, I made the connection to for Aaron to interview Bill Glass. So he actually interviewed. So Aaron Griffith is he's a professor. I'm trying to think of where he is out west. I think up in Washington. But I can get you his email because he would be the best one to talk about Bill Glass because he's researched.
absolutely. That would be
Yeah,
great. Thank
yeah,
you.
sure.
Aaron Griffith. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that.
and there's a section in his book about Bill Glass Ministries.
Oh, okay. So he did a book about Christianity Today, and then part of that was about Bill Glass, and he kind of researched that ministry.
Well, his
Okay.
book is God's Law and Order, so it's in that book. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of interesting when you learn that and Bill Glass started doing what he was doing, because I did an interview with Michael Nolan, the CEO of Bill Glass Ministries. I don't know if you talked with him,
I
but
haven't met with him yet. Yeah, I know he's
okay.
relatively new.
Oh, okay. And he was saying that yeah, you probably learned uh Bill Glass started doing what he was doing because he was encouraged by Billy Graham.
Right,
And
exactly.
and
Yeah.
Billy Graham, I think, said to him, God calls us to be fishers of men. One of the places most ripe for the harvest with fish is prisons.
Mhm.
Those people are hungry, and have, all the time in the world. So he started going to prisons, and that's kind of how it
Mhm.
started. But yeah, that sounds great. Would you be able to, if possible, tilt your camera down a little bit so we have a little less headspace and a little more room below the chin?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, are you gonna
Yeah.
use the You're not using the video for anything, are you?
Well, for the documentary, I'm
Oh, well,
yeah, it's
I would have worn something different. I'm kind of, vacationing a little bit here.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um it is recorded, not live though, so I tell people, like, if you need to start over in the middle of the thought, please feel free to do so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, I'm just doing all the shooting right now, and it's not in the spring semester. I actually like write and edit, so this is not going to be done
Okay.
till like April, May.
Gotcha.
Just so you know, but
Yeah.
oh, okay. Are you able to say and spell your first and last name for me, Karen?
Sure. Karen, Karen, Swanson, Swanson.
Thank you. And I always ask people, what's your title and who are you with?
Sure. I'm the director of the Correctional Ministries Institute at the Wheaton College Billy Graham Center.
Oh, okay. Billy Graham Center. There you go.
Mhm.
Okay, director of Correctional Ministries, Wheaton College, Billy Graham Center. And
Correctional Ministries Institute. Yeah.
okay. And what so I know you said like a suburb of Chicago. What city is that located?
It's in Wheaton, Illinois.
Oh, couple of summers ago, I've been to Chicago handful of times in my life, but a couple summers ago went to Springfield and went to uh the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library, and also like went by his house that he lived at. So that was pretty cool to see.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right.
Okay, so Karen, getting started here, can you tell me, uh yeah, kind of I guess we'll get started with how did you know Bill Glass?
Sure. Well, I knew about Bill Glass because of his ministry. Bill Glass, I think it's Behind the Walls now, or I'm not sure the exact title, but it was Champions for Life early on in the ministry. So I learned about him, and then I did go in with one of the crusades or campaigns at Cook County Jail uh, a few years back, and then actually met Bill Glass a few years ago.
And for someone who's been to one of these crusades, describe for someone who hasn't been what it's like in person, what's happening, what the reaction of the inmates is.
Hmm. So the one that I was involved in was actually inside, but because it was inside a jail and there's no grounds, you know. I know other people have gone to like motorcycle events or different things, but they bring in either I think this was athletes or singers or somebody that is highly skilled as an attraction for people. And so this happened to be a women's jail facility, and they, were in the gym and sitting on the bleachers. And so they have this event where, it has, powerful speakers that give their testimony as well as something entertaining to draw people. And then afterwards, and again, this was a few years ago. Then we got together in smaller groups, like at a table, and went through the gospel message and asked, if anybody wanted to receive Christ or renew their decision to Christ.
Excellent. And what excuse me, what jail and like what city, what state was this?
So it was Cook County Jail in a women's facility, and it was in Chicago, Illinois.
And so when you went to that, is there just a big response by the women, and also just like emotionally and physically, like they see the message that they're presenting, and they look at their life and just see the whole, and it's just like really emotional.
I didn't really notice that um that happening there. It was um I think it yeah, so I mean it was just an opportunity to talk one on or in a smaller group was helpful. So it's the event kind of draws them to the larger event, and then you have the smaller groups where you have that opportunity. But I didn't really see any kind of emotional response, but I don't, again, it's been several years ago, but I don't remember seeing any kind of emotional response.
Do you remember around when that was?
I'd have to go back and look at my, documents kind of thing. So it was at least 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
um and what was Bill Glass like, if you met him as a person, when you went to these as an evangelist?
Well, he was not at the event that I went to because, he was older or whatever. I don't know, whatever reason he was not at the particular event that I was at. So, and when I met, so then we met with him in the home because he's retired, and this was just a few years ago, before he passed away.
And what do you remember, like when you met him, what do you remember thinking about him? Well, I know, so you're saying
Yeah.
he's older, but just his heart for evangelism and, the
Yeah.
kind of person he was.
Yeah, I felt like he was totally sold out for Christ and just had a real heart for evangelism and has been faithful to do events inside prisons for, decades and as well as training people in the church on how to witness. So I think that that was also one of the things that was important to him was helping people just even learn how to share the gospel message with somebody else. Um, I do know of a student at Wheaton 20 years ago. I heard his story, or I mean, I just recently heard his story, but when he was a student at Wheaton, maybe it was 20, 30 years ago, and he went on a Bill Glass event, and that changed his life and gave him a continued passion for people who are incarcerated. So, so it's not only just the gospel, it also changes the people who volunteer with Bill Glass Ministries.
So someone like Tom, um,
Right.
I know his story is not isolated, not unique.
Well, I don't know totally Tom's story, so yeah, but I mean, the person I was talking about was actually a volunteer as opposed to the person who was being ministered to, so on, so to speak. So,
Right. Yeah, just many different lives impacted I think of it like a tree, all these
right.
branches that keep spreading out.
Uh-huh.
And what do you think Bill's legacy is? So, I mean, this guy was a uh NFL football player, from what I understand, had a pretty good career. Cleveland Browns, Detroit Lions. I mean, it was decades ago, but especially in this day and age, you just don't hear about pro athletes, using their life like this. And oftentimes they get into drugs or they just become bankrupt and spoil all their money. So Bill had a much different post football career. Just talk about, you think, the legacy he leaves, yeah, when you look at his life.
Yeah, I think that again, he was an evangelist, so he shared the gospel with many. I think he was creative in reaching people who are in the prison who wouldn't be the ones attending the chapel service. So he went to, held events that would draw people in that normally wouldn't, be going, to Bible studies or worship services. So I think it was very creative and offered these, events, large group events as kind of a unique way of reaching people.
And again, he was kind of pushed to do what he did, and thanks to Billy Graham. So Billy Graham I mean, of course, this is all God, but God
Uh-huh.
used Billy Graham to have a part in Bill's life.
Right. I remember a little bit. I mean, I just remember Bill saying and sharing that Billy Graham had encouraged him and, in his own evangelism. Yeah. And that's where Aaron Griffith, I think, could have greater insight into that area.
Oh, at Billy Graham's influence on Bill.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's read more of the history and he took notes and recorded the interview. So with Bill
Hmm.
Glass. So
And how about that? Two Bills. Well, one Bill, one Billy.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Karen. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else important you want to add I didn't ask you, or did we cover it all?
No, I think I think you covered it. So yeah. Looking forward to seeing what you put together.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, and thank you in advance for yeah, if you want to email me Aaron's contact. Um,
Yes.
I was going to say, yeah, last summer I was in Michigan for my cousin's wedding. Um, oh gosh, it was at a lake. I think it was like Lake Secor or something like that. It was kind
Hmm.
of central Michigan, I remember, but it was beautiful. But my
Uh-huh.
family and I, because my parents love the movie Somewhere in Time, with 80s movie with Christopher Reeve. So we went to that island, like very northern part of
Mackinac
Michigan.
Island.
Yes,
Mackinac.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That that's very cool to see, because like there's no cars, so you just see horses going around, kind of like Charleston, South Carolina a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And like they're known for their fudge, and they have all these just like
Right.
early 1900s houses. So that was pretty cool to
Mhm.
see. Anyway,
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
yeah.
great.
Well, enjoy your time with your brother, and thanks again for your help, Karen. Appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. All right.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
God bless you. Take care.
Thanks.